Welcome to Ruthin Rugby Club. Croeso I Clwb Rugby Ruthin. The club, which was formed 60 years ago, has contributed greatly to the sporting and social life of our town. The club has brought so much pleasure and enjoyment to so many people, including our players, coaches and spectators. We shall now hear from a number of our past captains who have helped shape Ruthin into this successful, friendly and thriving North Wales Community Rugby Club.
We ended up actually playing on Hugh Francis's father's field in Rhewl, Placer Ward. That was the first game of rugby played in Ruthin for donkey's years. We played in what was Echo Jewellery's ground on the old football ground, the previous football ground. Then we got thrown off that because they wanted to develop it, and it was meant to be for recreation purposes only, but that's another story. So we ended up carrying the post across the town to here. We had to transport the clubhouse as well, which was a temporary classroom in Clwb Grammar School or High School, whatever it was. And my brother got the articulated wagon and brought it over, and it was stored then in John Gray Lloyd's house up in Cyffylltiog for a couple of years, and where it was rotting away nicely, and we brought it down here eventually.
When I first started playing, of course, we didn't have this clubhouse. We were changing in the back of the Castle Hotel. It was like a 6x6 bath, which 60 players had previously been washing in before it was your turn to get in, and the scum on the top of the bath was awful. I think they sent it over to the corporation later for soup. and that's where we met after the game. And then coming down here, I have a feeling it was Richard Hughes who brought the original club to Ruthin here on his wagon.
My first memory of Ruthin Rugby Club coming down here was, I think, as a 5-year-old on the first team pitch. John Gower was the coach of the mini rugbies. He turned up in a Morris 1000, a grey one, I just remember that, with the biggest smashed nose I've ever seen on a man in my life. He wasn't smiling either, again.
The wooden clubhouse and the sound of the players warming up and the sound of those, what were huge men, running up and down on wooden floors in boots, yeah, and then just coming out, and yeah, sense of awe, really, watching them come out.
And I remember getting this card in 1968 asking me to attend a trial match. And it was sent to me by John Hughes, who was a match secretary, who lived in Graifechan at the time. And he had we were running 4 senior sides then, Ruthin. So he sent me this, and it's a treasured possession of mine, this. I've kept it for ever since then.
Proudest moment, wow, that will obviously be captaining Ruthin into the Heineken League. It was a big thing at the time. It meant that we were then one of the top 40 sides in Wales. I thought it was just an absolute brilliant thing to happen to a small club like we were at the time, you know.
Dwi'n falch iawn o gael bod yn gapten, a beth sydd yn hynod o fendigedig erbyn hyn heddiw ydy gweld yn plant ni yn cael cyfle i chwarae hefyd yng Nghlwb Rygbi Ruthin. Yn cael cyfleoedd i wneud be ar i ni wneud, yn llawer cynt na be ar i ni wneud, ac yn cael yr holl flas o wneud hynny a'r rhain sydd hefyd ag y merched yn wrth gwrs yn cael cyfle i wneud hynny. So obviously I was very proud and privileged to be that captain, but hopefully as a legacy, our children have been able to also participate in the club, to have those opportunities to play. It builds confidence in these kids so much.
Well, my proudest moment as captain of the club, it's a bit of a weak answer, it was being made captain. I'd been made captain the year before when Rhys Owen had broken his leg, so I'd halfway through the season there. And I'd never thought of being a captain, actually. As a 10, you tend to shout orders and shout at people anyway.
My proudest moment was probably lifting the North Wales Cup. I mean, we'd won it 2 years previously as well, for the first time in a very long time. But as a moment as a captain, I think, especially as it comes at the end of a season, when you've spent all year working towards your kind of end goals, I think that was a really special moment for me.
In this club had produced lots of good players. Obviously, Graham was a big influence on me. Graham Williams was a big influence on me, mainly because I worked with him, and it was constant rugby. That's all I ever heard from Graham, was rugby this, rugby that. Other players, you've got David Evans from Portmaddock, Tom Locks in the front row, brilliant player, calm as anything. But the two players who were outstanding for me, and in my opinion, the best that we've had at the club, was David Davis and Gary Owen. They were absolute stars, on and off the field, you know.
Rhys Hughes, who I played with for most of my senior career, absolutely incredible player to have in your team. Whether you're winning, losing, drawing, any position on the pitch, any stage of the game, would know what to do, would be confident with his decisions, and could control a ref as well. Something that I didn't really understand until having played with him for a number of years, is that's a big element of the game as well, is getting the ref on side and making sure he's seeing the things you want him to see and not necessarily the things that you don't want to see.
Rhys was very keen and played a good standard of rugby. He was a good scrum half, even though I do say so myself. And it grieves me to say it.
And how would you think you as an outside half would you have liked to have played alongside Rhys?
Oh yes. Yeah, we'd have made a change from Gower. I'd have seen more of the ball.
I think the most talented player I ever played with not just natural talents, was Jim Salisbury, obviously. You know, he could kick a ball from his own try line to their try line. At youth team level, Stuart Asprey, what a talent he was. You know, when we won the league in 2004, we wouldn't have won the league without Tony Cole there, because he galvanised, you know, he was an absolute lunatic, wasn't he? You know, galvanised our team. Very fortunate to play with Rhys, beginning of the end of my Ruthin days. Steve Morgan, flanker, fantastic, destroyer. David Part, you know, I could go on all day. But I think the one player that if he wasn't playing, and we'd know he wouldn't play, I know people say he's a mate of yours, would be Paul Threlfall, though, by far. There was great players all the way along, very good ones. You know, Aves played for Wales and stuff like that. But Threlf, when he played, we were a different team.
I think we were fortunate that when I went to college in Bangor, it's 1969, and I didn't come back till 72, but I brought quite a few players back with me who played with me in the normal side. Tudor Hughes, who scored a lot of points for Ruthin. John Davis came back, and it coincided with a load of boys coming back from Cardiff, Kincoy, Denby boys, Fred Roberts, George Jones, Tegid, and there were Chris Smith came over, and then the Portmaddock boys came over, Gary Owen, Tom, David. Later on, David joined us, Housie Wheel, and they were brilliant Ruthin players. They took Ruthin to their hearts, and Mike Smith was an unbelievable player. But we also had Fred Roberts, who was outstanding. We really did have some really talented players.
We had some fantastic players, some who've gone on to have international honours. Rhiannon Roberts, Lois Jones, Kerry Butch, Kerry Evans, they went on to play for North Wales. They played with North Wales. Sarah Simpkin played for Welsh University, I think for 3 years, and went on to gain an international cap. Ruth Evans gained an international cap as well. She was later on, I think, about 2009, 2010, but they did fantastically well.
Mike Smith got a B cap from Harlech. came to us. He got a P cap from playing for us. Who else did we have? Oh, Alan Macmillan played for us, an English international. Played in the centre for us.
Perhaps it shouldn't be me sitting here, it should be Jim Salisbury, but he was unavailable. So he was skipper in the year that we won the league in 2003-2004. Jim himself, Welsh youth cap, went on to play rugby league professionally as well with Widnes. Other players I have to get a mention, Avion in that side, went on to play for Sale and Toulon, and earned his first one and only Ruthin RFC senior cap for Wales.
We were there.
We were there. We were pissed.
The 70s was a very fruitful era for Ruthin Rugby Club. The players we had were really outstanding, and we started. I think my biggest memory was playing against Newport in the cup here, and this ground was absolutely packed, because we had stands everywhere, and the support we had was unbelievable. It was a televised match as well, and we put up a really good showing. And I think the South Walians were quite surprised about how talented we were.
Well, there's obviously the Pontypool United win here. When we'd been in the Heineken League 12 months earlier and lost every game. And we were a bit of a laughingstock. We'd got a very young side. And then the following season, Graham Williams came to coach and Paul Threlfall was captain. And Paul, the very good coach and a very good captain. And we went on to win 3 games that season in the National League Division 3 against sides that were high-paying sides with ex-internationals and playing for them. And the week before the Pontypool United game, Dave the Vale in the Advertiser, because we'd narrowly lost to Blackwood away, something like 12-7 or something like that. And he said, I predict that Ruthin are going to win. And anyway, and the week after, there was thousands watching. We did. We had a great win, and it was even on the national news. Great news for Welsh Rugby, Ruthin have won.
The team to beat at the time was Caernarfon, and they were tough, and they were the team to beat. And first few games, we got a thrashing, but as we improved and got closer and closer to beating them, we felt this sense of achievement really. Caernarfon pitches were on a slope, very, very difficult to play running up that slope. There were quite a few fiery games that went on between us, but I think eventually we got that close to a draw, and that was a huge achievement at that time against Caernarfon.
Pwllheli came to us. We had to score 11 tries to win the league. We scored 7, absolutely annihilated them the whole game, and they celebrated like they'd won the league. It was horrific for us, but watching them celebrate avoiding us scoring 11 tries was something I won't forget.
Our most memorable game would be the qualifying game into the Heineken League. It was against Wrexham. We drew 13-all on the field outside here. I think we were level on points. We were all, I think it was 10 games unbeaten, both teams. And we played them, we drew 13-all with Wrexham here.
We were the first team in North Wales to ever beat a South Walian first-class side. When we beat Cross Keys here, we lost narrowly to Neath, who had 4 or 5 current internationals. We beat Penarth down in Penarth. We had so many. We beat Broughton Park over when Tony Neely played for them. He was playing that day against us, and we beat them over there. We had such success, but unfortunately limited home games because these teams wouldn't play us up here. They always wanted us to travel.
So the game that really stands out was a crunch game over in Nant Conwy. This was in the 2003-2004 season. Must-win game. We went over there. I think there was up to 500 people travelled up there to support us from Ruthin. So there's about 1,000 people there watching. Referee up from Cardiff. I think he quoted in the paper that if you think that North Wales is a rugby backwater, then think again. he was impressed by the quality and the support on that day, and a very hard-earned 6-0 victory. Doesn't sound great, but it was great to be playing in it.
I think everybody has mucked in over the years and done their bit. George Prenton was obviously a very busy person behind the scenes. DJ Hughes was another one, and then we had all of the officials. I'm going to miss somebody out now, aren't I? That's the worst thing about this, is you're missing somebody out. But no, we've always been a very happy club in Ruthin, and that's why people have come over here, I think, to play for us and stayed.
The club's unsung heroes, you know, from when I was, you know, mini Rygbi youth team. DJ Hughes was always there, I've got to mention him. Just looked after the kits and everything. You know, we all know about the Gowers, the John Hughes, the Gareth Evans and all them, that, you know, everything. But Pat Burkle, you know, for forming the youth team, he was always there, you know, never criticising, just nicely there. You know, when I was a youth team player, Mike Gander, what a coach he was, you know. He made me feel like Barry John every game, you know, that's what a good coach would do, isn't it? Yeah, but they were the first two that sprung to mind, where Pat Burkle and DJ Hughes. Many
People here, as I mentioned, Dave Davis and Gary Owen off the field, they were the stars for me when I was captain. But there's people in the clubhouse here, Gareth Evans, John Penryn, Dave Williams, and of course none other than DJ Hughes. You know, DJ was everything to me at the club. He meant everything. He was Ruthin through and through, and he was a star man.
So the coaches I played under for Ruthin, Denley Isaac, and John Hughes, Rad Lowry, and Colin Edwards. Sadly, in our 60th year, we've lost both Rad Lowry and Denley Isaacs. Both passed away this year. And then taking Ruthin through to its most successful period recently is Russ Penryn and Paul Threlfall. And if you want to look at a template of how to do things right, that was under Russ and Paul.
Gareth Lynch, who is no longer with us, unfortunately, was a character. One good story was he played cricket as well for the town. But a lot of people didn't realise that, because he was such a big lad. And we'd been playing cricket in Ruthin one day, and we called in the Castle Hotel after the game, because there was no clubhouse in Ruthin then, in the cricket club either. And we called in the Castle Hotel, and it was run then by a gentleman called Colonel Hayes. And it was, if you were going into the pub, into the lounge bar, you needed to have a tie on. And Gareth Lynch walked into the clubhouse, into the Castle Hotel, and this gentleman came along and said, "Excuse me," he said, "you can't come in here without a tie." Well, he said, "In that case, I'm all right." Lifted his shirt up, and there was his tie holding his trousers up.
I remember one nightclub we went to, I'm sure it was in Bradford, when Fred Roberts managed to find his way into the lighting room above the stage and locked himself in and started the lighting system, which was focusing on people in the audience and all over there were lights going on everywhere, and anyway, soon the bouncers were up there banging on the door telling him to come out, but he refused. And then it was DJ Hughes who had to negotiate on his behalf, And in the end, the management agreed to safe passage and a bottle of whiskey if he left, which he did.
Isle of Man tour, very short boat ride going across. We start drinking. Pat Keefe is on a different planet, so he's about 4 pints in after half an hour. I think it's a 1 hour bus boat ride. He has 8 pints in that hour. I've never seen anyone drink like that. And then as he goes to get up out of his chair, because he's sat the whole time, he goes to get up and he just carries on going forward and just face plants straight into the floor, lands on the floor. Brilliant.
Oh, another one, we were in Tonrefile away. I think it was a Friday night game in Tonrefile. It was getting misty and I got a penalty. We've got a penalty and the ref says we can't carry on, it's getting too misty here. Don't blow up, ref, get to 75% of the game, it would be okay. Anyway, I took the penalty and we went over, we just about saw the penalty going over and the ref turned to me and said, I'm abandoning anyway, 2 of your fellas are fighting on the touchline. And we weren't sure if it was 2 women fighting, it was Grant Mann and Russell Penryn Jones who were having an altercation. And we thought, we did ask, are they women or men fighting? And we said, I think they're 2 men. And the ref said, sod this, we're blowing the whistle and going.
So Vets tour in Spain, we get through to the final. Tunisia Vets team are playing there as well. So for the final, they line us both teams up. They play the Tunisian national anthem, they play the Welsh national anthem for us. We're a broken side, so we've had a full day of drinking the day before, so we were absolutely ruined. All sorts of injuries. We managed to just about hold ourselves together to half time. And then a moment of madness from Lee Piss. So the ball is passed through the backs and there's a bit of space for Lee, but he's overran the pass. So instead of checking his run, he does like a attempted back heel fly kick at the ball, completely misses the ball and then falls over. Their winger picks up the ball, runs the rest of the pitch, scores a try. We lose the game. I don't think Penryn will ever forgive him for that moment. Penryn's face was just unreal.
Ruthin Rugby Club will always be one of my best ever achievements I've done, playing for Ruthin, not captain, nothing like that, just playing for Ruthin, being a part of this setup here.
I think we are the only club in North Wales who's never, ever been out to the top flight. I don't think... we must be the only side who've never been out to the top flight in North Wales Rugby.
Ond mae just mor wych a mor braf gweld erbyn heddiw sut mae merched yn cymryd rhan mewn pêl-droed a hefyd yn arbennig fan hyn wrth gwrs mewn rygbi.
Ruthin's always had a strong tradition of a really good high quality second team and long may that continue because it's really important for the club.
Underpants gone, gutted. I was yes, I'll talk about my lucky underpants. This season we won the league. They were white, Marks and Spencer white fronts. And we won the first game and I told somebody I'm not washing these until we lose the game. And the only game I forgot them that season was the Carnarvon away game we lost. I had to play in a pair of Tipsy's trunks, don't know where they'd gone. Found them the week after. But at the end of the season they'd asked me to donate them to the club and they went missing. I don't know where they've gone. Yeah.